Hi, welcome to the block video. Unfortunately my camera is way too low to get a good shot in. However, I'll go through the positions and explain how they affect or well, basically improve or worsen your racing performance on the first step as well as coming out of the blocks. Now, right now the camera is facing this way, which is showing me. This way is the decline, this way is the slight incline. How this is going to favor your race, as usually you can tell on a track. There's also a slight angle, a tilt. Usually the tilt will favor the track that drags the water in towards the drainage, and my leg position for this setup that I'm showing is in favor of the straight, not the bends right now, because I don't know how much time I'm going to get. But basically when we're going to load ourselves up in the blocks, we're going to have the stability leg, the leg that catches force over our center mass and launches us off in front of us. The reason why we do this is because basically we're going to have resistance and then we'll be pulling straight off of it. Just like in the stride, we're going to be basically pulling out. It's that position in the blocks, so we're going to be creating it here. As well as we're not going to have feet externally rotated, we're going to have an internal foot, and then this is going to allow this glute to be relaxed. So when this one comes through, this one can triple extend. So when you pull that leg up, triple extension is going to happen without you having to do it. That's a natural reaction, right? When you pull this hip, the muscles will contract on their own. You don't need to do it yourself. This one is slightly externally rotated, and this is usually going to favor the angle of the track. If the angle of the track was the other way, it'd be the other way around, and it'd be that favorable. But I'm going to show you the setup. Now, because this is inclined this way, what we're not wanting to do is this. Our legs aren't symmetrical, so if our arms are symmetrical, we can't get the rotational speed and dexterity that we want when coming out. And the dexterity is going to allow us to reposition our foot and hip and ground contact in favor of center of mass, and accelerating and plyometrical loading is going to be way better for our body. So what we're doing is, if our arm is in front, okay, this is my left arm, this is my right arm. The left arm is in front, and then we load up. That was perfect. Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. Like, because that loading, just ignore that. But that's literally what happens. Like, I load up, I come out, and this leg, I'm basically launching, but because it's slightly inclined, I land with my foot too far in the position I don't want, and that's because the arm is pulling too far forward, and that pulls your mass, right? So when that's like this and we launch, it's going to pull a long step. What we're wanting is a short step, so we're going to have this arm slightly in front and this one in behind, and when we launch, we can bend that elbow, which allows us to pull up with the incline, right? So once again, we're going to basically switch the hand for incline. So there's no loading. You don't want too much loading on the arms, because if your arms are shaking or your feet are shaking in the blocks, you're building up elastic energy, which is going to create a false start or instability in the blocks. You're going to move out of the blocks with lifting your head, which will then move your whole body and chain. So when we do this, we're basically loading up. We're going to find that comfort spot. This arm is basically going to be punching us, and when we're going to come out, and land exactly where we want on our foot. Now, I'm going to switch this around. How much time we got? 4 minutes. All right. I'm assuming this is fine. Man, I really got that good breath. Now we've got decline, right? Decline. We use the same setup on the foot. That's what happens when you don't warm up, but I have to do it now because I've got a big warm up to do and I've got to beat the rain. So this is decline, right? So in a decline, when we're leaning downhill, we want to work with the decline. So we're loading our body properly and we're making the most of going downhill and velocity and mass, right? So in this case, we're going to have the arm in front, right? So what that's going to do is going to pull along a step, because you want to pull into the incline and not out. When you jump on the incline, the decline, you're going to launch up, which is going to bring too long a stride in, and you're also going to land incorrectly on the footing. So, same footing. This is where stability is, this is where balance. If you were to start standing up, you would want to be this leg forward. If you're doing this, you've got tense muscles that shouldn't be tense before, you need to be loose to fire those movements, those micro movements that allow you to fix yourself in a race or basically maximize speed. So this time, because we're going downhill, we're going to want to work with the downhill as long as we can. We're going to build up, obviously, training to build our stamina and durability so we can do better results later on. That's where training comes in. You don't need to overwork blocks, you just need to learn the process. So this hand's forward. The purpose is this hand's back, so basically when I'm in the set position, I'm going to lift my head. And it's going to be a smooth reaction. And it gives me a longer swoop, so I can pretty much lean into this. And I don't actually use any muscle effort. What happens is when I use my head right, my arm goes right, and because I'm making use of the downhill and all the proper movements in the body and the positionings, my body actually comes out, lands where it needs to land. And if you go too hard, like a maximum effort, you're going to go too far in your step, which means you can't make up for that distance. You want to be below 100%, that means you're going to land right where that foot and that Achilles tendon is, where it needs to load and unload. And it's the quickest reaction you'll get. When your hands are in symmetrical reaction, you're going to get less quickness and you're going to get less of that rotation and that micro rotation that's going to make the difference in a race, as well as the knee can't fully go where it needs to go. I hope this kind of makes sense. I'm going to check the time for 1 second. Alright, got 1 minute. Now, most people know they run on a bend and they turn right. Now, when you're turning right, the first thing you should focus on is loading with the right leg, because when you're turning, we're turning left on a bend when we're sprinting, so you're going to want the right leg to load up. Alright, and the reason for this is because this is actually downhill right here, is stability. If you're shaking in the blocks, you're building up a jump in your leg, and you don't want that, because then you'll jump out of the blocks, especially if you're plyometrically strong. Also, thanks for tuning in. If you need more bend information, I can do a separate video, but this took a long time anyway. But as you can see, this is the best I had for today. Also, thanks for tuning in, guys.